Namaskar to everybody. Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Madam Shobha Karandlaje, President of the Indian chapter of the Extension Education, and the Deputy Director General, Dr. U.S. Gautam, the respected Vice-chancellor of the University, Dr. Suresh, the Karnataka chapter President, Dr. Ishwarappa, Dr. Chandrasekhar, Dr. Venkat Subramanian, Dr. Shivalingaya, and everyone sitting here. I see the former vice-chancellors, professors, and the students of this university. They're distinguished delegates from different parts of the country, the farmer producers organizations, farmers, and the friends from media. Once again, good morning to all of you. And it's my privilege and pleasure to be here and participate in the well-organized Indian Society of Extension Education-led seminar on extension, linking it to secondary agriculture. At the outset, let's first congratulate the Extension Education Society. They have completed 60 years of their service, set up in 1963, and today we are in 2023. And we also would like to congratulate the President, both All India level and the Karnataka chapter, for having brought into the center the role of extension in promoting secondary agriculture. I think all of us sitting here who are in some way connected with extension always consider extension as something at the bottom of the whole educational system. It's a very wrong way to think that way. Extension, no doubt, is the last mile activity in the whole agriculture value chain. Once the researchers have given us the product, then it becomes our responsibility to take it without compromise of any quality, any spirit, any essence to that last person. It's very unfortunate that we always think, and it is so in life also in general, that once we have developed an output, that's the end of it. Maybe that has got something to do with our culture itself, that we inquire into the mystery for the spirit of it, for the sake of it. If in a way India has lagged behind the Western societies, the only difference is that we are extremely science-oriented, but they are technology-oriented. You look at all our ancient times, we have dwelt into all the mysteries of nature, but we fail to document that and translate that into everyday practice. Whereas what the Westerners have done, particularly in the modern times, is to immediately translate that science into technology and take a commercial advantage of it. So in a way, Indians are not very good at commercializing things because our nature is not very commercial. But in 21st century, we need that approach of commercializing, because that is good for everybody. So extension similarly is like that. We have a new variety bred by the plant breeder, or a new agronomic practice given by an agronomist, or a new plant protection measure by an entomologist or a pathologist. But is that reaching the farmer? That scientist is not bothered. He thinks my job is done. It is now the responsibility of the extension agent to carry that without any dilution. But we know that in extension, a lot of dilution happens. The corruption happens. When you talk of corruption, we're not talking of lack of integrity. What we're talking here about the loss of integrity with which we are transferring the technology to the last person. Therefore, extension is very, very critical. And extension is a function of multiple disciplines. It is sociology as its base. It has psychology integrated into that. And then we have to understand the economics aspect of the product that we want to communicate. So it is a complex web of science. And extension officials, the extension scientists are supposed to integrate that in a meaningful and a simple manner so that it can reach the person. And as it is reaching, it is just serving as a vehicle, but taking the product on itself and then sharing with the people. So I think in the modern times we must understand extension has to become an extension management. Yes, ISEE had changed the name from extension to extension management. But have the people understood why management has been suffixed to extension? When we suffix management to extension education, then we must understand that all the principles of management will have to be brought into the play. I think we are still far away from that. We are all aware that extension as a science evolved in United States of America and United Kingdom in 19th century. It came to India pretty early. In fact, in the beginning of the 20th century itself, we started having formal extension. It was one collector in the state of Punjab who first time tested the extension methodology in transferring technology in 1921. And thereafter, we had the Royal Commission on Agriculture, which lay a lot of emphasis on extension. So beginning with 1920s, over the last 100 years, extension education, extension research, extension science, extension as a methodology for transferring technology has evolved. But I think where we have been lacking behind is to bring in that mathematical research, mathematical rigor, the methodologies that are extremely important. Because today, we need less of textual approach, we need more of mathematical approach. We know that we have been applying mathematics to economics, but we are not that done for extension. The reason is that since extension is a social science, it deals with a very amorphous, very, very difficult to quantify attitudes and aptitudes of the people, whether it's the farmers or other stakeholders. We have not been able to develop the new extension methodologies that are required. So I think the researchers have to actually now focus on that. How a multidisciplinary approach can be brought in to develop new methodologies. We have now moved far away from what we all learned 40 years back. Today, it's less of manual, more of technology-centric approach. So how do you blend the modern digital technology that is available with us with the manual transfer of technology to bring speed, accuracy, and real-time transfer. Things are changing very fast. Now, don't be surprised over the next 10 years, Bangalore and Chennai will be considered as twin cities. Bangalore and Hyderabad will be twin cities. These are three going to be the twin cities because of the speed that we are all conquering, whether it is roads, rail, or the new methods of communication. 20 years back, I read an article where somebody said to answer the congestion in Bangalore city, we should have telecommunications. Many people laughed at it. That means people should not move from one office to another. They should do it telephonically or by other modern means of communication. They said, how is it possible? But during Corona time, we all saw that everybody learned to communicate across the world. So people are looking for real-time transfer of information, knowledge, and technology. So I think in these 3 days of seminar, what we should be really doing is how research methodologies can be introduced into the science of extension. Many times, I may be out of place to talk about that, we keep using the terminologies workshop, seminar, and conference very loosely. What is a workshop? What is a conference? What is a seminar? We have called this as a seminar. That means we are going to spend long hours discussing on subjects. So we have got 3 days here, and a lot of people come from different parts of the country. So we should be able to bring that multidisciplinary approach and therefore see how the new rigor can be imparted to the extension education. It's certainly not the last subject that the students should be choosing. How we can bring greater reputation and greater choice among the young students will all depend upon the present scientists, present practitioners, present leaders to give it a new look. So there is a lot of possibility. We have the suite of technology, and then the demands are different. So before I close, let me tell you, first is that extension must understand that today's demands are very different from what they were in the 1960s. We have talked about productivity-led production so far. But today, we are now talking about not only productivity-led production, but we are talking about two basic things. That we shall do this not at any cost, but keeping the cost of production in mind. Second, we shall not talk only about anyhow production, but in sync with ecological demands of the day. And more importantly, that it shall be an agriculture value chain approach to the system. And when we talk about agriculture value chain, we are not compartmentalizing the entire system into pre-production, production, and post-production. It is going to be one integrated whole. That means series of robust value chains will integrate into a longer supply chain. So the extension has to focus on supply chain management. So that should become the core of extension. And then, for what? Enterprise. Is an enterprise. Agriculture is the oldest enterprise. Is the only private sector enterprise truly in character. So, if it is a private sector enterprise, how extension can actually bring that kind of knowledge into it to see how agriculture will serve the new needs. The new needs are employment and income. Employment and income are the two critically associated, linked terminologies. We can have welfare of the farmers through the gratuity from the government. We want it, but more importantly, we want farmers to generate their own incomes, and that is going to come through the employment-centric agriculture. So secondary agriculture is what is going to enable generation of employment. So please, of course, I'm going to speak later on. I want to tell you so much, because everybody is sitting here, that primary agriculture is what is natural in its production. It uses the process of photosynthesis and physiology by deploying the naturally available sunlight, the carbon dioxide, etc. That is all natural system, whether it is livestock, whether it is fisheries, aquaculture, crops, horticulture, is all natural production. Therefore, we call it the primary agriculture. But secondary agriculture is the next step. It adds greater value. We want to capture value for the farmers. So extension now must reorient itself to creating jobs, to creating incomes, and then therefore supporting the government's vision of creating welfare for the farmers. And unless the farmers are given that state of welfare, India cannot be a welfare state. So extension is a very important vehicle in the modern times. So let's, over the next 3 days, apply ourselves to understanding what new kind of extension is required. How do we link extension to the new agricultural demand, keeping the people in mind? So please remember that you have a very onerous responsibility. It is not only the industry department which is supposed to create jobs, as we think. In fact, agriculture has to create more jobs. Maximum number of jobs will have to come from agriculture. So agriculture is the future of our country, future of our globe, because we're now all going to move towards bioeconomy. So I will stop here and congratulate the organizers for having brought us all together and wish everybody the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for throwing light on different aspects of secondary agriculture, extension, and how it can be linked together for the betterment of science of extinction. Now, I request our guest of honor and our beloved alumni, University of Agricultural Sciences, Bangalore, Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, Director General, Manage, Hyderabad, to give some insights on secondary agriculture.